You're supposed to be enjoying yourself, but part of your brain never left the place where your dog is. I'm Em, dog mom, former vet tech, dog trainer, and canine nutritionist who has sat in a parking lot refreshing a camera feed instead of enjoying the thing I drove 3 states to do, and who works with dog parents trying to figure out how to be away without falling apart. There's a version of leaving your dog that you've gotten used to. You know your house. You know your kennel setup. You know what the sounds are and what the light looks like and approximately when they're going to give up waiting by the door and go find a spot on the couch. You've done it enough times that the anxiety has a shape you recognize, and then you leave your house, and suddenly none of that applies. You're in an Airbnb or a campground or a hotel parking lot, and your dog is somewhere that isn't at home, and you have no idea what that space sounds like to them, or whether they can hear things through the walls, or whether the smell is stressing them out, or whether the kennel placement is right, or whether they feel safe enough to actually rest. And you're supposed to be enjoying yourself. You're supposed to be doing the thing you came here to do. But a piece of your brain is just back there, with them, running through every possible version of what might be happening. Has that been you? Physically somewhere else, but mentally never quite where you're supposed to be? The thing about traveling with your dog is that the stakes feel different, not because you love them more when you're at home, but because you have a system at home. You know the variables. You've dialed it in. On the road, every location is a new equation you haven't solved yet. New sounds, new smells, new setup. A kennel in a corner of a room you've never been in before. And you can't just pop home and check. You can't just run down the hall. You're there and they're there, and the distance between those two places is the whole problem. So what do? You rush back a little earlier than you needed to. You check the time more than you mean to. You spend the whole hike doing the math on how long you've been gone instead of looking at the view. Does that math sound familiar? Because most people doing it don't even realize they're doing it until they're already home and they've only been half wherever they went. I hear this from dog parents who travel constantly, the ones who have figured out every other part of being on the road, the food, the exercise, the routine, and still can't fully turn off the part of their brain that's back at the campsite wondering if their dog is okay. It's not about not trusting your setup. It's about not being able to see it. I took Fitz to South Dakota a while back and left him in an Airbnb while I spent the day at Roughland. I had his kennel set up in the kitchen, pulled out just far enough from the wall so he could see around the corner. I put on dog TV with ducks and squirrels, and I had my waggle camera on him. Think about the last time you left your dog somewhere new and spent the whole day wondering if they were okay. Think about what that cost you in terms of actually being present for the thing you were there to do. Every time the motion detector went off, it was him lifting his head to watch the screen and then just settling back down. Just watching the ducks and squirrels. Completely fine, completely himself, and I got to be completely there at Roughland, doing the thing I came to do because I could see him. Here's what I want you to take from that. It wasn't just about knowing he was fine, it was about being able to see it. And those two things are not the same. And even with that, even with the camera, even with the alerts, even with the ability to check in, there's still the moment where you catch yourself opening the app for the 4th time in an hour, not because anything is wrong, but because you need to see it again. Because knowing isn't always the same thing as seeing. Because the anxiety doesn't always respond to logic. You know your dog is fine. You can see your dog is fine. And you're still in the parking lot with your phone out doing it one more time. That's not a you problem. That's just what it feels like to love something you can't be with right now. There was a point where I stopped refreshing the app to check for problems and started opening it to confirm what I already knew. Peace of mind isn't knowing your dog is fine. It's being able to see it. And knowing that changes what you're actually doing when you check in. You're not looking for the worst. You're looking for information. You're looking for the visual that lets your nervous system actually land instead of just telling itself everything is probably okay. There's a difference between probably and actually. And when you're 3 states from home with your dog in a space that isn't yours, probably doesn't cut it. Being able to see Fitz watching his ducks on TV didn't just tell me he was fine. It told me the setup was right. The placement was right. The training was working. I wasn't just hoping I'd done it correctly. I could see that I had. And that changed everything about the rest of the day. It starts showing up differently when you have eyes on it. The hike that goes the full distance instead of getting cut short. The meal that you actually sit through. The event you stop leaving early from. The morning you wake up and realize you slept through the night instead of half waking up every hour running through the list of things that could go wrong. The version of traveling with your dog where you're actually traveling, not just managing. Here's the question I want to leave you with. What would you do differently or stay for if you knew your dog was actually okay? You're not anxious because you're doing it wrong. You're anxious because you love your dog and you can't be in 2 places at once. That's not a flaw. That's just the math of caring about something this much. You deserve to be where you are, and so does your dog. And if you're sitting there thinking, I want that for the next trip, Waggle's cameras, temperature monitoring, and remote alerts are in the episode description. You can use code EB65 to save up to 65% on your pet monitoring technology today. So be kind, spread joy, and remember, knowing your dog is fine and being able to see it are not the same thing. You deserve both.